welcome. This is the podcast Influential Coach with me, Rita Egidio, and here we are again, super excited. And I always ask my guests, Kim, to present themselves and start like unveiling. You say unveiling? Start,
Sure.
showing, pulling the curtain, telling a little bit about them. So we kick off this with you talking about yourself and telling your story.
Of course. Great. Yes. Expose myself, basically. Unveil myself, right? Beautiful way to put it. I'm Kimbi Marenakos. I'm a doctorally trained family nurse practitioner and a behavioral health specialist. I live in Charleston, South Carolina, and I've been practicing both as a psychotherapist and a family nurse practitioner in clinical practice for 18 years. And I have been a nurse educator. I have been a little bit of everything. I actually started my earliest, everyone goes through at least, they say, 5 complete career transformations. I started my journey as a vocal performance major, actually, at NYU, performing in musical theater. So I've done a little bit of everything, but where I am now is a very exciting transition that I am making. And I am shifting into the virtual realm with my work. It's very exciting. And it's foreign territory. It really, really is. So I'm loving the creative process right now. I'm loving really engaging my left brain. I think I'm a little bit more right dominant and more creative, but the left brain, learning all this technology and learning the business side of everything is quite the adventure right now. So, but what my business does,
yes,
I help nurses and other healthcare professionals who are struggling with burnout, which has been huge through the pandemic, as you know.
I had a call.
Mm-hmm.
It was not a podcast. There was a game plan call yesterday with a lady who is doing. She called me for the attention of that. She was scared of narrowing down so much, but it's interesting. Not funny. I was going to say funny, but it's not funny.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting, then that is a trend and something then really needs people to help, because I'm so absent of newses and I'm so close on my little cocoon. I really never did stop 1 second. Obvious during the high moments of COVID was clear, but I never did stop 1 second to think about how they are now. Because I found out then we all look like and I'm talking about the perspective of someone who lost everything with COVID. I was a DJ. That was my job, and I lost it 2 years of work.
Sure.
And I lost my identity. I lost who I was. I did need to go and find something else to do. What makes me very happy today, but was a tough shift. I cannot imagine, like, the consequences of this pandemic and all the things that came with the pandemic. It really did affect us. Like, it made me take decisions that I will never take in another situation of life. Sorry, I've been talking about me.
No.
But it took me to do something very drastic. I left my family, my kids, and my ex-husband, and I went through a self journey, finding out who I was, because my anxiety, my depression was taking me to stop to be alive. And if I stop 1 second, and this was a person who was not on the front line, how is that people?
Right. And that's what really, I had a wake-up call myself in the fall. And through the pandemic, from the start of the pandemic, I was working full-time in urgent care. And I do my, psychotherapy, and my counseling and coaching practice has been sort of what I do. It's an endeavor of love. I've done it for 18 years. And, shifting into full-time practice in urgent care right as the pandemic was setting in was unbelievable. And there were days, I mean, at the height of it, I think my high was 130 patients by myself as a doctor in clinic, 130 patients. And it averages out to, less than 4 minutes per patient. And that is really just horrendous. Doctors, we were all healthcare providers. We were all, frustrated with the 15-minute visits that we used to be afforded. And so through the pandemic, the volume of patients and the widespread fear and paranoia and worries and illness and suffering had everyone coming to get tested all day, every day. And in the fall, I found it was a day. So my first love has been psychotherapy, and the mind is just my favorite place. And I love when I went into primary and urgent care, it was my motivation was to be able to provide more integrative care in a setting that people actually have access to, because very few people have access to mental health care and behavioral health care. So it's a specialty, and there is not at this time insurance parity. So people's insurance doesn't cover their mental health care. There are no resources, and already before the pandemic, depression was the leading cause of disability throughout the world. So, and that was something I taught about at length at the medical university here. It was always a part of my class. But so we were already really overstretched in mental health. And then I wanted to be able to provide it at the primary access point. So I went into family medicine, did my doctorate, started practicing, and I was so my ideal patient is someone who, I think every patient is a behavioral health patient if the provider is willing to go there with someone. If you're willing to ask, really, how are you? Not just, your sinuses are congested, let's get you on an antibiotic, but how are you doing? And, how are things going for you? And, where are you? I can see that you're struggling, and this has to be hard because you've been out of work for a few weeks. How are you doing? So that to me is where I thrive in those patient encounters where I have the opportunity to take a little deeper dive and really help someone. And so I had a patient encounter at the end of a 12-hour shift last October. And now this was 2 years in. And I had a patient encounter at the end of the day. It was at 8 p.m. I had seen about 85, 90 patients that day. And the very last patient who walked through the door was a woman who had just lost her father. He had died, and she was really, really grieving, and came to the doctor, and all day it's swabbing noses, COVID tests, hearts, lungs, just really just the most gratifying in some ways, but really you didn't have the opportunity to connect with people. And that's my first love. So I had this lady there, and she needed me in a very real human sense. And there was nothing left of me, Rita. I was so emotionally exhausted. There was nothing left of me. And I was so disappointed in myself. I was devastated as I drove home. I was thinking, that's the patient I was born to help, and I couldn't be available to her. And I mean, that was the biggest wake-up call. I drove home in tears, and I just thought, how far off the path have I gone? I'm so far away.
Fault. It
What?
was not your fault, right?
Oh, it's not my fault. It's where the system had taken us all. And before the pandemic, the system was broken and really didn't value the real connection, the opportunity for connection that we have in healthcare. But now the way that we were overburdened. And the way that truly my opinion is just that the pandemic has been so exploited and sensationalized and politicized, and the burden fell on healthcare and the frontline workers who just were expected to just go and go and go and do more and more and more. The quality of care is what suffered. The patients is what are who suffered. But this wake-up call, I immediately, I mean, it was truly blinders being lifted, and I put in my resignation. And I thought, this is not what I ever went into healthcare to do. I didn't go into healthcare to care less for people. I went in after practicing psychotherapy for 12 years. I went back to school to get my doctorate so I could do more for people, not less. And here I found myself last fall so unavailable, so emotionally, physically, and spiritually exhausted that I had to make change. And change is so incredibly hard. But as I hear about your journey and stepping away and having to rebrand yourself, really, and redesign, recreate a life of purpose for yourself, there's something, it's hard. I mean, it's the chrysalis, it's the butterfly becoming, and it is hard, but it's so beautiful a process if you will allow yourself to be led and to make that change. Do the scary stuff, do what's hard, walk right into it, eyes open. So that's what prompted my shift. And it's a journey, because again, I am, where I thrive is in a patient encounter or a client encounter, in the relationship-based care. Mm-hmm. And I thrive there. So there's a shift going virtual, entering sort of the virtual space. That is a removal. There's a removal there that I'm having to adapt to, and having to figure out how to maintain and even grow the possibilities of virtual engagement with patients. It's hard because they have to learn too. And it's hard because I want to lay hands on, I want to touch you. I want to listen to your heart. I want to listen to your lungs. I want us both to take deep breaths as I'm listening to your lung fields. I want to sit with you. I want you not on the exam table. I want you right here. And I want to ask how things are going and really be present for you. So I'm learning a new way of being present for patients. And my hope is that the virtual space will allow me to be more present for more people and open up, like remove the boundaries. So
I'm listening to you and I'm crying. Point one, because I believe in crying. I believe then that is, I don't know, I have a vision. I think then this shifts the lives of everyone. And I became, not long ago, one day I was waking up with an anxiety attack, a very hardcore one. It's at 4 a.m. used to be my, and I remember to stop 1 second and to realize then my disease was what pushed me to leave the situation where I was, because if not, I was going to do something worse. And I never did. I had this, when you have mental health issues, especially if you are an overachiever, as I see myself, certain moments it looks like you are losing your mind, because the people that are around you, they don't understand your situation. I remember specifically to be with my boyfriend, wake up at 7 a.m. with a terrible anxiety attack and have Xanax on somewhere, because I knew he had them. It's not that I'm dropping Xanax, like I take half of a pill when I have anxiety attack. Mm-hmm. And he answered to me was, babe, you just woke up. Can you please calm down? And that triggered me in such a way, then I think was enough to end a relation. It was not what it happened, but because you want to do good, you want to be your best, but you have that issues.
Yeah.
And
Well, and the hardest part in all of that, and this is someone who loves you.
supposedly, yeah.
Well, and does, but the biggest problem is stigma, and people fear what they don't understand. And if they've never had anxiety or a panic attack or depression, if they've never had PTSD, if they've never had a complicated grief response, they can't understand it. It's foreign to them. They don't know it, and people fear what they don't understand. So it's really, I try to find compassion I try to educate people as much as I possibly can. I mean, I am a psychotherapist. My father was a psychologist and an author, and my mother doesn't believe in psychotherapy. My mother doesn't believe in getting help for mental health, for behavioral health. So
I did not.
Yeah.
I said no. Like I was this weird person who could go. I start drinking very late in my life, so that I could go out and do some drugs, but I will not go and take antidepressant.
Mm-hmm. Oh yes, yes.
And like
people are afraid of behavioral health meds, and in fact, the clinic, after I gave my resignation, I was recruited by a different clinic in town that wanted me to help integrate behavioral health into their primary care and urgent care practice. And that thrilled me to bits because I knew I was starting something new and would still need to be working. And they were open and wanting to offer this service, such a neglected area of service. And they wanted to be able to offer this to their family of patients. So I'm thrilled with that. But my biggest task is educating other healthcare providers how not to be afraid of mental health medications and educating them on what these medications actually do. Because when you understand what they do, again, we fear what we don't understand. But when people truly, when I break it down for folks and draw a big diagram of two neurons and a synapse and what the medication is doing for you, when they realize that this medication is actually only allowing you to use your own neurotransmitters. It's not adding anything. It's not subtracting anything. It's not dissociative. It is allowing you to have access to your own neurotransmitters. Because through coping with life, through stress, through trauma, we become really efficient at breaking things down, getting rid of it, and waiting for the next shoe to drop, because we're constantly in survival mode.
Constantly in survival mode. I have some triggers, and it's even funny. I have been doing a lot of self-work. And I found out when someone tells me, can we talk? That's sing along, or we need to talk. That's sing along explode my heartbeat. I go through, and then it's easy to jump, for example, from one relation to other relation. That was the pattern in my life. To create. So my mom died very early in my life, and I did not have the support and I wish for my father. My father was not okay as well. And today we can understand that together, and he's okay. But I went through a lot of trauma in my life. But I became a survivor.
Yeah.
And a survivor, the ones who can, I was the phoenix who burned herself out and come up from the ashes. But then I realized, wait a second, I'm sabotaging myself when I'm doing good. Because I'm just used to.
Well, that's the pattern. So you go ahead and get there. you're not even actually there. But all it takes is that "can we talk" trigger, and that's a neuronal pathway that's been paved with repeated experience. And it's much harder to pause and say, whoa, let's reroute, let's take a dirt road, let's blaze a new trail, because your default is that 4-lane highway of neuronal pathway that goes straight to the end of the relationship. Go ahead, get moving on. So, rather than feeling out that discomfort, you just go ahead and get there. And it's actually a beautiful thing. And I see so much of our dysfunction as a survival mechanism and a coping skill that served us at some point in our lives, but now it's working against us. So we have to learn new coping mechanisms and new survival skills. But I think it's so important to pat yourself on the back and thank those skills for keeping you safe to this date. To this time, they have kept you safe.
That was a big haha moment for me. Why? Because I was in a relation for 7 years where I was deeply, it was a kind of I don't think my ex-husband was aware of the damage he was doing. I don't think he did by purpose. I just think was there, and it was very damaged to me. And I did drugs when I was 20 something. I tried a lot of things. I never did need to be another person. I have enough energy to party all day without anything. Then in a weird way, last 2 years, I started drinking wine because it was really difficult for me to sleep. And I don't like wine, red wine. It was just a glass before I sleep because I could not sleep. During the time of COVID, the time then I find passion last year, and the time then I working 17 hours a day, I burned the boats, I have no other option, we need to make it. And I found out on the last, so I moved to Mexico. I came to Mexico and I did not came back in August, first days of September. But I was being that mom was on a relation because my ex-husband was a great father. And my other kids from other relations were having a good father, not perfect, but a good father. And I was getting 1 bottle of wine every night. And I was shouting and screaming every night. And I was still trying to, I don't drink, but I'm starting to have an issue.
Yes.
And then that issue came in a very weird way when I arrived to Mexico. I never did drink tequila or mezcal or whatever. And kind of a part of my brain with anxiety who left her kids, who cannot speak with the kids, who is blocked from the bank accounts, you name it, it did happen to me. And your oldest son is in jail. So all these kind of things coming out.
Turmoil.
And you are trying to figure out who you are. And when you have this feeling, then you need to stop. It's time for you to heal. I was never alone. It looks like we are having like a conversation. I was never alone in my life. I'm a mom who was mom with 19. So my oldest son is 21. And I found myself on Walmart crying because I did not know how to buy food for myself. I had no clue how to shopping for me alone.
Yeah, it's different.
I was. And then realized that I was not in a condition to have my kids or to be with my kids. And I didn't need to accept. And I didn't need to cross whatever other people think about me because I was going to kill myself. And believe me, if I put something in my mind, I'm quite good on that. And then I realized I was not really missing my kids. I was missing my daughter, my youngest one, but I was missing to understand who I was.
You were missing you.
Yeah, what the hell I am.
Yeah.
Because in a moment to the other, I'm not the international DJ anymore. I'm not the mother. I'm not the wife. I'm just a person. What comes with the alcohol and mezcal and all these things. And I was partying as a teenager. And I was controlling, and I'm a very controlled person. The point is, if you combine that with antidepressive, things can go very wrong. And I was not aware of that.
Yeah.
So I had some steps and mistakes that I did and things that I did that I regret. But I found anything we should be talking about you. But I think this is, people should have some perspective on COVID, because it transforms our lives, and we pay the mask and we are vaccinated or we are not vaccinated and everything's okay. It's not okay.
Yeah.
We're still struggling. We don't have people anymore.
Rita, I saw a patient at one point, and of course everything is de-identified. There's no identifying information here, but I saw a patient who came to the clinic one day, and it was about 4 or 5 months into the lockdown. So no one was able to leave their houses. They were sufficiently terrified by the media to leave their homes. And so
it's terrible. Yes.
It really was so sensationalized. It should be, just my opinion, it should be criminal how it was handled and what it has created now. And my 14-year-old son likes to say, you know, there are two pandemics. One is COVID. The other is the depression and anxiety that we'll be dealing with for a lot longer. And it's true. It's very true. I saw a patient and she came in to be tested, and everybody said she was really stiff and didn't want to be there and was just really just not very nice to the triage staff, to the nurses, to the check-in. And I said, okay. And I thought to myself, I'd never want to set myself up with any sort of prejudgment on a patient just because of what the others have experienced. So I try to be just clear and receptive when I walked through the door. And I went in the exam room, and there she was. And she had a beautiful hat on. She had a beautiful dress on. She was impeccable in her makeup and in her hair, and in every presentation was so beautiful. It was meticulous. And I said, well, you look beautiful. I hope you're going somewhere special when you leave here. And Rita, she started to cry, and she just she broke down. She said, I haven't left my house in 3 months. She said, I haven't interacted with another human being in 3 months. She said, I found a cat in my neighborhood who I started putting a little bowl of milk on the stoop, and he came to get the milk each day. And she said, I haven't interacted with another human in 3 months. And she said, I started to worry that if I die alone here, who will feed the cat? That's the only reason this sweet lady ventured out to get tested for COVID. And what was her risk? She had been isolated for 3 solid months, very low risk of COVID, more risk having come into the healthcare clinic than she would have at home. But the need for human connection and the need for, that was an opportunity. I also saw a patient through the pandemic who had just buried her son. Her 23-year-old son had just died of COVID. And I told her, I said, I get tested routinely and I do not have it. Can I give you a hug? And we both sobbed. I put my arms around her and I felt the sobbing. And she said, even through her son's burial and funeral, no one would touch her because they were so afraid that she was carrying the COVID that her son died of. So the way that it has changed us will have repercussions and consequences for us socially, emotionally, spiritually, psychologically, for the rest of our lives, I believe. I don't know, we've got to work hard to create a normal that's actually something like a human experience. So hearing you, yes, COVID has changed us. It has. I'm a diehard, hopeless optimist. And I want to believe that we were all going on autopilot a little bit and getting a little far off track, or maybe a lot off track. But we have become so depersonalized and so isolated because we do everything virtually. Kids are crippled socially. They can't carry on a conversation. It's all via text or social media. There's been a huge depersonalization, and we have an opportunity now. I believe burnout, one of the dimensions of burnout is depersonalization and a disconnect from the purpose of our work. And I truly believe that through burnout, we have an opportunity to intentionally reconnect with each other. I think we all value human connection more now than we ever have, because we've been without it for 2.5 years, 3 years. So that's why I do what I do, and I love it so much. And I've created an online course for burnout. It's called Burnout Breakthrough. I created an app. I'd love for you to share. I'd love for you to see it.
Of course.
Through it. The app I created, I just love. And in it, there's a lot of free resources, free download, free resources. There's also access to the online course, which is a 6-module course that really breaks down the phenomenon, the syndrome of burnout, and then provides antidotes for each of those features, each of those dimensions, and then lots and lots of self-assessment and worksheets, and then resources, mindfulness resources. There's also a section in there where you can schedule a coaching call with me, or there's also a section where you can read through, it's my posting of articles that I read, and then it's my response to those articles. And it's just a thoughtful place where I sort of chew on what I'm, share what I'm chewing on, share what I'm processing, what I'm learning, what I'm, taking a deeper dive to learn. And it's really, it's an endeavor of love, and I've taken the pressure off of it. I'd love for it to take off and become my full-time primary work. And there's no pressure on it. That would be a bonus to me, because it is truly, it's what I love doing. This is a Post-it note I'm sitting here in front of.
I'm full of them always.
They are everywhere, but this says pressure off, adventure on. All right. And they are everywhere. They're everywhere around me.
Is pressure off, adventure on?
Yep. Take the pressure off of this thing and let it be an adventure. Learn, let it teach you, let it guide you, let it lead you. And it has. I've learned so much just in this process of creating the course and of creating the app. And truly, I need your help as far as how do I launch on because everything is social media. And, truly, as a behavioral health specialist, I know the science, I know the background of social media, and I have a real resistance to it. I need you.
And okay, so the people then I allowed myself to work with, I'm special people, but it's like you. In special people, they are 30 plus, and they are looking for option for helping more people and transform people's lives. They know they have a gift, they know they are successful, but they want more. They are in a mission.
Yes.
But the thing is, the same way that we look to the pandemic, the same way we look to social media. We look to social media in a way that represent a lot of values who go against what we are doing, right?
Very true.
Now you have that friction there. It's my job with you to find your voice and your message, and not to expand for millions of people who will not resonate with, but find the 10 to 20 to 100 who need you.
Yes.
Mission of crafting your story, crafting your message in a way then is cool and feels good for you, because if you don't feel good for you, forget it.
Right. Right. It has to feel good because it's why I do what I do.
We celebrate on the journey, and we don't celebrate the followers. We celebrate the two people who did read this post, and we put the two people who are watching this show and more coming for watching a podcast and seeing me crying because I feel
And exposing ourselves, right? Unveiling ourselves.
me, this is me. I'm raw, I'm honest. I have no issues. I always say I did a play-by cover in 2016, and I always say it's much more hard to undress your soul and your spirit than take the clothes off for a magazine, because I do that often. So it's no any kind of being honest. Like some weeks ago, I had the episode of a wrong combination of things. I was taking a new pill, I was taking antidepressives, I received a bad news, and I went to drink a shot of tequila, and then I became, it was not one shot, it was more than that, and then I just did wrong thing I wish then I did not do.
Well, so here's the thing is that alcohol is a central nervous system depressant. So when we're depressed or anxious, to pour a depressant on top of that, it's a guarantee that it will sink you lower. It just is. So
and then what I did is, like, I went to my Facebook and I decided to tell all my story and what was going on. And I don't really care, but I was not expecting. Then in Portugal did explode in the way they explode. Like, I used to be famous 10 years ago, 15 years ago, not now. And that exploded in such a way, then thank God I'm in Mexico. And I said, okay, the only thing I don't need is Google it. So no, I'm not accepting any calls. Because this was not my intention, but I received as well so many messages of women saying, I wish, because Portugal is a very Catholic country, we'll always say that a mom can never leave her kids. All my kids are teenagers except my daughter. But my mom died, and many people said to me, how can you do that? She says, I can do that because I am not in a condition to be the mother they deserve. I need to put myself back together and better than ever and stronger than ever, and really go and find my mission and help these women that I have been helping. Women as you, they have this gift and this capacity, and the only thing I do is amplify. And then it comes the little, like like to call the good selfish pleasure of giving.
Yes. Oh my goodness. It is. When I know, I mean, there's nothing better than the patient. I had one yesterday who says, you've changed my life. I got her off medications and she's thriving, and did it in a way that is sustainable and healthy. And she now has an opportunity to experience both a peace and a joy that she's never known. She's always been dependent on meds, and her doctors have always put her on meds to treat the side effects of different meds.
Oh my God, I can't imagine. I can't imagine. I remember, like, I'm in a foreign country with no family. I have some friends. I have a relation. Then with all of this, obvious, it's not on the place of, you always say, I never know what is going to happen with you, because I had these episodes and that makes me feel bad for him, but I'm not allowing that. Because, look, I need to be so honest with myself and understand where my triggers are coming from. And I decide, so the last time I tried to kill myself and I did not succeed, I decide, point one, I'm done with this. So I'm staying here. I have a mission. I hear my mom. I'm trying to concentrate myself, saying then, this is your moment. And when I meet people as you, it sounds so cheesy. I know that is my job, you know. It's not possible. Then this pain, all pain did came if it was not to really put me on a place where I know who I want to work with. I know what I can do for these people. And I dress, how do you say? You dress the jersey. Yeah, is that like
dress the part?
Yeah, I'm going to be the best person on your team. That is how I operate, because I get very bored when I was doing social media just for me alone. And I always say I teach social media, but in reality, I teach mindset as well.
Yeah, you do.
And
you're so good at it, Rita. You are so dynamic. And okay, so I don't even, I work too much. So I'm out of the loop as far as knowing just how sexy and beautiful you are physically. But your spirit, and truthfully, when you threw out a little post in the Passion Fighters thread, you are magnetic, and I was drawn. I didn't know if a podcast or if I was ready to just put it out there, but you are what the draw is. You are the magnet, my dear, and you're beautiful spiritually. You are beautiful inside and out. And yes, if you have found your calling through this excruciating process for you, every bit of it has been worth it.
Yeah.
Every bit.
And I was the first time that I jumped on Passion, I was doing an avatar mix of artists because I was a DJ and coaches. And on the coaching part, I was getting a lot of women. And I was always very on my alpha energy, my male energy. I never really, when I was young, women used to be very jealous of me, and I never hang out with women. I have no mom. So, I did not grow up with someone to teach me how to brush my hair, how to have long hair, how to do my eyelashes, or how to do makeup. So I was very disconnected of my female energy. And I grew up in Africa. That is the beautiful thing. And I grew up with no shoes on my feet and a cocoa.
I love it.
And that is my spirit. I believe in magic, not like who I believe in things. I believe that where we focus, we get it.
I believe in energy and manifesting, and truly the law of attraction and the law of gestation. And
we are not here talking for any other reason than that one. And he came when he did not come when it was like everything is on point. And I narrowed down to work with women. And a specific type of women who know their gift. Because if you arrive to me and say, oh, I want to make some money online, I want to make some course, I'll say, oh, thank you so much. I have ready-made courses that you can buy, but I'm not going to guide you and hold your hand, and we are going, because it's not my job to find your calling. It's not what I do. Other people do that. I don't do that. And it's really funny because I'm releasing a small pancake about money. I don't know if you saw it.
Yes, my magnet challenge.
Yes. Yeah. And it's like $77. It's not like my high tickets or my coaching, and nothing compare. But the reason why I'm doing that is normally people always teach how to become a millionaire, right? I don't teach that because I'm especially at this moment of my life, I'm far away from being a millionaire. But what I learned was to stabilize my anxiety about money. I don't have it anymore. That was a big achievement for me because I knew constantly is coming. Like the other day, my dad was talking about money and he was stressing with something. And I said to him, when it was the last time, then you did not solve the problem.
Oh, love that.
Always do it.
I love that.
It's that, and another thing that is very amazing. I love when people complain. I hate to complain. I'm not even going to a friend to complain about my divorce, or I don't do that because I feel then it's putting
a negative energy that just.
I don't do that. So sometimes I need to cry, but I don't have a shoulder because I don't want to be like, complaining about it. So someone was telling me how he struggled we'd start a project and end a new project. And this is the story for 5 years, and he never can do anything, and he will never be successful in his life, is his last phrase. And I said, I totally disagree with you. I think you have been hardcore successful on the last 5 years, maintaining the incapacity of starting.
That's very true.
And
you've done that very well.
Same level of energy that
Yes.
you're putting on being so unsuccessful and
Yes.
attracting people to your life who don't deserve you.
Yes.
Is just based on your own beliefs about yourself.
Very true.
That is the big transformation, is whatever you believe you can or you cannot.
You're right.
Well, you are always right.
That's right. You're right.
And
absolutely.
Same way you manifest your reality. It's not the president, it's not the government, it's not COVID, it's not nothing.
That's right.
It all. And I managed to make in 5 months $85,000 from putting everything and selling everything I had, from the carpets to the paintings. But as well, I burned myself out because I had this belief, the more I work, more money I make. And it's not true. Now I believe more fun I have, more money I make. And the only issue with that is sometimes I have too much free time.
Yeah, sure.
But, you know, is so good then we are connecting because we have the same vision. We can make them understand they have the power on them. Of course, it's painful if someone abuses you. Of course, it's painful if your mom dies and you are 10. Of course, it's painful if you are stuck on a terrible, but it's your decision. Of course, it's terrible, painful to not see my daughter for 3 months, to not be able to talk with her, to not know how she sleeps, to not smell her hair. But this is my choice. I choose for this, and I'm going through a journey because I want my daughter to be 20, 25, 30, 45. And I'm talking specific about my daughter. And then I'm going to be, because boys are different than girls. And in this journey, I'm for her. And I love her, have her paintings, all her draws here behind me. And even if I cannot talk with her for different reasons, and it don't came to this, I feel her.
Right. She's
but
with you.
I want her to know then it's okay to charge your battery, because you cannot love her how she deserves if I am not in a good place.
You have to be whole and full before you can fill anyone else's cup. You cannot do that from an empty place.
And I question myself on my relations. How much was that love, or how much was me making their life the most comfortable, amazing, and be the problem solver who's always there, who's always ready, who make their life amazing exactly like they want. So they never live. They don't live me. They need me as hell, because I did not want anyone to live. So I made their life. I make the money. I make the house happen. I make the friends happen. I make the deals happen. I make everything. But is that love, or is that dependent? A space.
Yeah.
I don't want to be alone.
But you know what? And here I throw this at you for you to chew on a little bit. You and where you are now, you have an opportunity to figure out what your true worth is, because that's what you thought you could bring to the relationship. That's what you thought your value was what you could do for this person. But who you are, that's where I want for you to find your value, find your worth in and of yourself. It's not about how comfortable you keep someone or how much you do for them or what you make for them.
It was always about giving to the other ones. And I remember I live in a beautiful apartment this month. I'm going to shoot.
For this month, are you moving?
No, for this month, because it's our Airbnb. You can see the
Oh yeah, okay, gotcha.
Beautiful. And I
Excellent.
like to choose places where I feel amazing. The place
Yeah.
is more important than I'm a minimalist. I don't own a lot of things, but the place where I am is really important. And people normally saying minimalist that people don't spend money. It's not that. It's
So much more than
here
that.
everything is cheap. $500 for an apartment here gives you. The thing is, when I had that episode and my boyfriend went out of home,
Mm-hmm.
my first thing was, this is too beautiful for me to not share with anyone.
Mm. Mm. Wow.
And I have a capacity to make rain money.
Mm-hmm.
But my thing is, with who I'm going to share now.
Yeah.
So I'm on that moment where I
Yeah.
need to expand and love myself as I love, or love myself more than I love any other thing in my life.
You know, I had an experience a long time ago. This was, I was in a relationship that was very, very much about just make them happy. And um, I we we were parting ways. Actually, we were finished because this person had a real um, anger management issue.
Mhm.
And we had a fight in the middle of Whole Foods that was the most ridiculous fight over a dish towel in New York City on Columbus Circle. Had a fight over a dish towel. And I said, I walked away because I wasn't going to make a scene in Whole Foods or anywhere really. But I walked away. I went around the corner and he blew up and said, "You abandoned me." And I thought, this is really incredible. And this is a grown man, and I'm a grown woman, and we are in Columbus Circle Whole Foods having this argument. And when I left, I went back to my house and I thought, this is not what I want for myself. And sure enough, he hops a flight, comes to where I am, and is knocking on the door and wanting just to get back together, stay together, just fighting for it. So I bought a ticket to uh, I bought a ticket to Finland. And I mean, left field, my dear. This was just buy a ticket, and it was going to be. I was leaving. I was just leaving. I didn't tell anyone. I bought it by myself. Never been there. Middle of winter. Not the time to go to Finland. But I wanted to go and I bought the ticket, and I didn't tell my family. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. And I bought the ticket. I flew across the world and I woke up in this hotel in Helsinki, and it was the middle of the night. The TV was on. I didn't understand what they were saying. And I started breathing really shallow and I could feel my heart rate picking up. And I was just really in a really just anxious state, almost panic level anxiety. But I was sitting there, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what they're saying. I don't know where I am, and I don't know what they're saying. I don't know what it means. And this little voice said, take a deep breath, and said, this is why you bought that flight, is to not know, to find a little place with not with just you, just to find the space in just you and your mind and your heart and your soul, and figure it out. Breathe through this. This is why you're here. You came here for this experience. And I took some deep breaths. I went to sleep. I woke up the next day and I set out on the most grand adventure, Rita. I ate rice pudding and chocolate and bread and cheese and didn't know what anyone was saying to me, but I smiled and they smiled. And I went through all the stores and looked at fashion and looked at just art galleries. And I had the most beautiful solo adventure. And at first it was terrifying, but again, it was a matter of breathe through this and remember, this is exactly why you're here. And that's all that voice said to me was, this is why you're here. You came here for this experience. As frightening as it might be right now, take a deep breath and be where you are. And that's what I did. and it's powerful. But I firmly believe, and one of my mantras is, things don't happen to you, they happen for you.
Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
I,
Love it, love it. Just love it.
I just posted a picture with him yesterday or 2 days ago. It's
Right.
so terrible because I look like I was run over by a truck.
That's not possible.
It's like 2 a.m. and I take this photo with this man that I admire for so many years and changed my life, and I look terrible. But
No,
I
you don't.
decide to post. I'm not very concerned with my look. I'm a very chill. I'm not the girl who go to the hairdresser at all. I'm not concerned with
Perfect. It's perfect.
I tell everyone how old I am, and because I think it's important for the women. And sometimes it ticks me a little bit when I hear, "Oh, I want to look like you when you are your age." Gets a little on my nerves.
Oh, that's great.
But it's a great way to. We talked a lot, but we did not talk. I feel that this podcast should have a part two.
Okay, you got it. It should be a running series, shouldn't
Yeah,
it?
a running series.
Solve the world's problems, right?
But I think like it's very clear what you are going to do. And I think it's very clear I'm going to help you.
I hope so. I would love that. I would love to collaborate.
This story, then you share of feelings. Like I came here to see the possibility of us moving from expensive France, Cannes, to the third. I'm in Mexico. It's something that people don't understand. I live in the third more safe city in the world. I know it's Mexico, but you can walk literally at 4 a.m. with no issue. So it did have been a journey, and I arrived here, and you have a mix like on the north where I am now, it looks like California. On the center, it looks like Mexico. I don't speak perfect Spanish, but I'm Portuguese, so I understand 100% what they say, so I don't have you. But the thing is, I moved here by accident. I moved to go back. I brought a backpack, a computer and a phone, a pair of shoes and a pillow. And that was what I had. And I arrived there, and after 48 hours, I knew it. I was not going back so soon. Because when I rent the first house, I rent a house for $300. And the first house that I rent, I put the keys on the door and the door opened for the opposite. So instead of, the normal way. Yeah. And I see these things for the mosquitoes, and I tried how do you say when it's not the lighter, the
matches?
Yeah, tried matches and they are wet. And I called my dad. Then I was not talking so well. And I told him, Dad, I arrived home. Because Mérida, where I live, looks like São Tomé e Príncipe, where I grew up, and where I did not go for 20 years. And the feeling of being home was something that I was missing, and I did not know that. And I spend more time looking to the moon, and today's full moon, and looking to the stars on this country than ever on my life. And I spend more time swimming on the sea, and the sea healing me than ever. And I feel deeply and completely that I need to love, respect, and forgive myself. And I do it through my tapping, my EFT every day. And I'm bringing some of that knowledge, because I'm becoming a practitioner as well, to other things like money and other things.
Good, yes.
So the reason why I'm sure about that is because we had this conversation today. And this could be at the talk about making money online and how to get more.
So much, because people's mindset, it is truly about a mindset, but I think it has to start from a place of self-acceptance, self-love. And truly, I think the adventure of life needs to be driving our behavior, driving our work, our lives. We need to follow. We're only here once. I believe that the physical body has an expiration date, but our spirits do not. And this is where we are on this plane now. And it is our responsibility, it's our duty to live fully, live fully. Here's another Post-it note for you, right there.
Oh, wait. Love more, serve more, live more. Oh, I'm stealing that. Oh, I wrote something the other day that I was listening to, and I'm going to read to you. Become the person who took ownership of the results before having any clue how to get the results.
Oh, I love that.
It's beautiful, right?
Ownership before you had any clue on how to get there.
I know
Mm-hmm.
we are going to work together, but I know we are going to work together because nothing will fulfill me more than you help 10, 20, 30, 40 other people that were not on your circle of influence.
That wouldn't have been had you and I not found our way together.
Exactly, and as well, making you go and become the leader of your field, the go-to person, for them to just listen to this conversation that we had, because let's clap to ourselves as well, because you need to be brave. We did not know each other. It's the first time.
I know. And this has been so conversational, and you're right, I don't even know what time it is. It's just
it's time. It's more than time to end this podcast.
Okay, so part two.
Part two.
To be continued.
I'm going to say, point one, how people can find you.
Yes, so kgmwellness.com. That is my personal site. From there, there's also burnout-breakthrough.com. All of those will lead you to me. And
will be on the description as well, so don't get scared. You are not.
I can send you those links. You can put them in the description of our video.
Of course. And I'm going to say bye to you here, but I'm not going to say bye to you.
Okay.
I thank you so much. This was a very different, very, very beautiful. I feel so grateful that I had this moment, even for myself, even in a selfish view. Thank you so much. Guys, don't forget to subscribe, to follow me, to follow this beautiful soul. And I see you on the next podcast, or you listen to me on the next podcast. Bye-bye.
Bye.